Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video. And yes, continuing on, of course, reviewing more Christmassy films on the weekdays. And yes, that's right, you read the title, and, as was teased in the last review video, this one, this Christmassy film, another one from, Columbia Pictures. This one, well, sadly, not a good one. However, because I, obviously watched it, and I knew I was going to review this, and so on, well, be ready for... I might have a few positive things to say. I'm just saying, but yeah, that's right. This one Christmassy film from Columbia Pictures that sadly didn't do that great when it first came out, but I don't know, maybe as of now, because there are those, even before, that I'm sure, thought that this was okay and, kind of funny and entertaining for anybody. If any of you, some of you, having enjoyed this, well, good for you. We're all entitled to our opinions on certain movies like these. Yeah, like any Christmassy film like this one, if it's not that good and such, you get my point. So that's right. I am finally reviewing, not to mention, it is celebrating its anniversary, from 2004, Christmas with the Kranks. Yes, Christmas with the Kranks. Yeah. I understand, and to those that did not enjoy this very well, and it's not really one of the best Christmassy films, but I don't know, for me, I didn't think it was that bad, okay? Because I just want to make that clear, and as I said, some few opinions, positive and such, that I have to say, yeah, I get where this movie was going. I, thought that it was quite funny. I'm not saying that this is really the funniest Christmassy movie ever, no. I mean, while watching it, I definitely got a few chuckles, because, yeah, there were some pretty good jokes, and I think that, yeah, there are some jokes and funny moments in Christmas with the Kranks that are pretty good, yeah. But at the same time, yeah, it's a shame, because how this was received and how it turned out, maybe if it could have been a little bit better and such, maybe not really one of the, best, funniest Christmassy films, say next to, well, a biggie, Elf. Yeah, because no way that Christmas with the Kranks could, top off, Elf. But, yeah, with its cast and where the story was going and its direction, yeah, I mean, the movie is what it is, and this movie does have its audience, me being kind of one of them, because, yeah, I can't say that it's the best, but in my opinion, I didn't think it was that bad. I got some good laughs and chuckles, and I think where the story was going, not bad, yeah, but just overall, Christmas with the Kranks, to me, wasn't really that god-awful. It's not the best, but still, Okay, so, as always, for me, read the description / the story. Finally alone for the holidays, Luther and Nora Krank plan to issue, if I'm even pronouncing that right, again, you know me sometimes, to Christmas traditions and take a cruise in the Caribbean instead. This doesn't sit well with their Christmas-obsessed neighbors, Vic Formier, Mary, if I'm even pronouncing his last name right, and Waltz Scheel, I think I'm saying that right too, who are determined to win the annual Best Decorated Street competition, and the Kranks soon find themselves social outcasts because of their lack of Christmas spirit. Okay, so with that out of the way, not to mention that, oh my gosh, because even the Rotten Tomato score, 5%. Are you kidding me? I mean, really, is this that god-awful? I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's Rotten Tomatoes' opinion, so, what can you do? But anyways, yeah. I also want to point this out very quickly that two familiar faces that I know of being involved in Christmas with the Kranks, Chris Columbus doing the screenplay, and I think also being producer, and whom directed Christmas with the Kranks, Joe Roth. Yeah, I know Joe Roth, and he, for a while, had a big part in Disney. Yeah, especially since he took Jeffrey Katzenberg's place, and he was responsible for the beginning of the Disney direct-to-DVD videos, sequels, that whole thing, yeah. And also, he even made a public apology to Robin Williams through Disney. You know, this is right when, you know, Robin came back and did other Disney materials, most notably Aladdin and the King of Thieves. So if you know that story, but yeah. All right, so getting into the film itself, yeah. So, well, taking place in the Chicago suburb of Riverside. Yeah, that's the setting of this movie. Well, Luther Crank, being played by good old Tim Allen, and Nora Crank, being played by good old Jamie Lee Curtis. Nice to see that we have them in a Christmassy movie as husband and wife. And Christmas with the Cranks being the first Christmassy film for Tim Allen outside of the Santa Claus films. But also there's, I think, yeah, Home Improvement might have done something Christmassy, as well as Last Man Standing, and also, most notably, Toy Story, Time Forgot. Yeah, that one. But yeah, most notably, we know Tim Allen best doing something Christmassy, which being the Santa Claus movies. Yeah, so anyways, so yeah, Luther and Nora, because they, when we first see them, because, you know, they're awake even before the clock, you know, alarm goes off. Well, because their daughter, Blair Crank, being played by Julie Gonzalo, yeah, I think I said that right, basically is going to be going away for quite a while and won't be back home until next Christmas. She'll be spending some time in, Peru, because, like, going through the jungles and such, you know. So yeah, it's quite emotional for them, especially for Nora, saying goodbye to their daughter, and this will be the first year, and in 23 years, that they do not have Christmas with their own daughter. Yeah. And yeah, so it's just both Luther and Nora together, and, you know, still Nora feeling upset, you know, spending no Christmas with their daughter, and it'll be very different and won't feel the same. Especially since we learned that the Kranks, every Christmas, they always throw a annual, like, Kranks Christmas party at their house. Yeah. And at one point, well, because Luther has to get some, like, white and dark chocolate or something to do with chips. And it's pouring the freaking rain, and poor Luther, because going back and forth, even when there's an umbrella Santa, that's literally what he's named and credited, being played by Austin Pendleton. Yeah, I think I'm saying his last name right. We know him best, like, say, for being in The Muppet Movie, playing Max, you know, Doc Hopper's sidekick, and as well as being the voice of, you know, Gurgle in Disney and Pixar's Finding Nemo. But, of course, he's done a lot more than just those, but we would know him best from those, right? You too? So, yeah. So he plays the Umbrella Santa, you know, offering Luther an umbrella, like, you really, don't you think you should really have an umbrella? But Luther, he's refusing, but the few times where he gets soaked and just, yeah. And then he spots an ad, you know, a billboard ad or something, basically a cruise, and Luther gets an idea that maybe they should take a cruise on Christmas. And basically, they would be going on a cruise for 10 days, and they would basically, when he breaks the news and surprises his wife with this, but at first, like, she thinks that they're going to get naughty and such, and especially after dinner. But no, because putting on some, like, a cruise getup and such, you know, a shirt and shades, and surprising her with the idea on, well, they should take a cruise. A 10-day cruise, and more than likely, it's a Carnival cruise, I want to say, because that's what was on the sign. Also, like, the workplace that, actually, Luther runs, and he's the boss, he was checking, bills and such, on how much they spent for Christmas last year. A lot. For what? How much? Well, I don't know. Well, I guess, you know, because they only have one daughter, so I guess. and, well, a very wealthful family and such, especially, you know, a big company that Luther runs, I presume. But anyways, not to mention, Nora, like, volunteers, I guess, and helps out, like, say, sick children or something, and at a hospital with a couple of friends of hers, Candy and Mary. We'll get to them shortly. But yeah, again, Luther surprising Nora with them going on a cruise trip for 10 days. They leave on Christmas Eve/day, and how much is this going to cost, she asks, and, well, I think, yeah, $3,000, I want to say? Yeah. And they could just basically save money. That's all they have to do. So yeah, and she's not really sure about this, but the more Luther finds solutions and such, she's on board, yeah. And it's not even a Saturday night, and, well, because when Nora's now all hands down wanting to do the cruise, you know, she starts to, you know, do things with Luther, yeah. So yeah, plans and to basically go on a cruise start to happen, and they will leave until right as Christmas Eve hits, and they're gone on Christmas Day, yeah. And, I mean, I get their point and why they want to do this, but little do they know how their neighbors are going to start feeling about this. And yeah, it doesn't take too long when, well, because, you know, they are not putting up any decorations. Even when, say, Mr. Scanlon, yeah, being played by Kevin Chamberlain, I recognize him, and I'm sure you would too. I think we would most notably know him best, being, is it Bertram? Yeah, from the Disney Channel show Jessie, yeah. And he was good in that, so... So yeah, he plays Mr. Scanlon, and his two sons, Randy Scanlon, being played by Lyndon Smith, and Gus Scanlon, yeah, being played by Ryan Pfenning, if I'm saying that right, yeah, basically giving him a tree, but he doesn't, but Luther is kindly refusing to take a tree in, and, well, yeah, because it doesn't take them too long and the neighbors to know that the Kranks are not putting up any Christmas decorations and they're not celebrating Christmas. They're just taking a 1 year off from, you know, celebrating Christmas. And this starts to, you know, cause the neighbors to act suspicious and get upset towards the Kranks. Most notably, you know, from, like, say, the Shields, if I'm saying their last name right, yeah, Walt Scheel and Bev Scheel, being played by Emmett Walsh and Elizabeth Franz, and especially one of the top guys of the neighborhood, Vic Fromeyer, yeah, I think I am saying that right, being played by good old Dan Aykroyd, yeah, and just, when we first see him and he turns around staring at the Kranks house, just the stare he has, like, oh my gosh. Wouldn't expect someone like Dan Aykroyd to be playing that kind of part, but, you know, anyways. But I think, you know, Dan Aykroyd, how can you not love Dan Aykroyd, you know, because he's pretty much good in anything, right? So I think he was pretty funny in this, yeah. And as for, say, Nora, well, because, you know, those that find out from her, again, say from her two friends, and co-workers, Candy being played by Carolyn Rhee, and Mary being played by Felicity Huffman, William H. Macy's wife, yeah. Great actress, yep. You know, because they find out about this, and so does Abby, if I'm saying that right, yeah, being played by Patrick Breen. Patrick Breen, well, nice to see that he's in another movie with Tim Allen, because, well, they previously were in Galaxy Quest. Abby played one of the Thermians, you know, but he played the one that admired, you know, Alexander, aka Dr. Lazarus, and the only Thermian in Galaxy Quest to sadly die. Yeah. And need I say, because in Galaxy Quest, how emotional it was when Alexander, you know, finally said his famous quote as his character, Dr. Lazarus, to, you know, to Patrick Breen's dying Thermian character by Grabthar's hammer, that whole thing. You know what I'm talking about. Ugh. Yeah, such a great moment there. Yeah, so him playing Abby, and, well, because Nora breaking the news to, say, from Abby and Mary and Candy on not celebrating Christmas and taking a 1 year off, that whole thing, yeah. And the poor Kranks, the shenanigans they get themselves into with everybody, just, yeah. Yeah, because them not putting up any decorations, especially not putting up a Frosty the Snowman. Everyone around the neighborhood always puts up their Frosty the Snowman, and they start to, like, pester, and at times not leave the Kranks alone, just, wanting them to put out Santa, we want Santa, and at least they do say that they want to put up Frosty for them. Okay, that's fine, but the Kranks, not wanting any part of it. No, they refuse. And eventually they do find out, yeah, it doesn't take too long for everybody to know that they are going to go on a cruise. Even, like, say, when at one point Luther actually printed out some papers, writing messages to his employees that, he and Nora were going to be away for 10 days and not be there on Christmas. And they start to get upset towards their own boss. And some of his co-workers, actually, because one of them being Docs, being played by Vernee Watson. Vernee Watson is such a great actress, too. I remember her best as, at times, appearing on The Big Bang Theory as a nurse. Same on 2.5 Men. Well, because obviously, yeah, Chuck Lorre, has always loved working with Vernee Watson. And yeah, she's a great person and great actress. Yeah, great in anything. Yeah, and some of the other characters, like, to mention them, yeah, because there's also Daisy. I believe, yeah, Daisy is the one where, at a certain point in the movie, like, they go to the mall and they get some tanning. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, yeah, because Daisy being played by Adrienne Myron, I think, yeah, that's her, so, yeah, I'm pretty sure, no, that probably isn't her, but still, to name some of the other cast members, yeah. Like also, yeah, some of the other neighbors, there's, Wes Trojan, if I'm saying that right, and Tris Trojan. They're played by Mark Christopher Lawrence, Rachel L. Smith, and, oh, I didn't even realize that he was in this. Oh, I don't know why I didn't recognize him. The late David L. Lander, he was, well, I'll mention who he is later on until I get there. Yeah, but, it's pretty funny. Some of the others, like, there's some office staff people, yeah, like Kim Rhodes, Patrick O'Connor, and some of the neighbors, like neighbor 1 being Doug Cox, neighbor 2 being Matt Walsh, and yeah, and a bunch of others, like there's also the Beckers. There's Ned Becker being played by John Short, Jude Becker being played by Bonita Fredersey, if I'm even saying that right, and there's Randy Becker being played by David Hornsby. Yeah, I think I said that right. Yeah, so again, because what goes on with all the characters, especially with the Kranks, because them still preparing for, the cruise vacation, and, again, how the neighbors, how they start to treat them, and just not doing anything on Christmas. Yeah, and again, just the whole thing of, wanting to see a Frosty the Snowman come out, and, even them chanting at times, "We want Frosty, a free Frosty," and so on. God. And yeah, and some moments that happen, well, because, yeah, like at times where Luther always gets into some situations and shenanigans, best way to say, because with the Shields, most notably Walt, at times accidentally stepping on their cat, a fluffy white cat, and the cat kind of not liking Luther, and at times Walt insulting him and calling Luther an old man. Well, because Luther is quite younger than Walt, but yeah, they're just one of those neighbors that doesn't really get along, so yeah. As also, because, and let's come to the tanning sequence, because, yeah, they are wanting to get, some tanning, and when they go on a cruise, and, it's so funny, because, yeah, when they go in and, get the tanning, and again, I'm pretty sure, yeah, because it has to be her, Daisy, yeah, it is Daisy, pretty sure, yeah. Them getting a tanning, and at one point, because poor Nora staring at herself in a mirror and how she looks, and in a bathing suit and about to tan herself. And at one point, and yeah, David Lander stepping in, and he's credited as tanning intruder because he accidentally comes in the room where Nora is tanning and is, oh God, and she accidentally bumped her head and it's bleeding a little, and asking Daisy at the front desk for a Band-Aid and such. And at one point, Father Zabersky, if I'm saying that right, being played by the late Tom Poston. Yeah, I know, I'm familiar with Tom Poston, yeah. Well, because seeing the sight of Nora in a bathing suit and everybody else in the mall starting to look too, and even, Nora asking the front desk girl, for another towel, but she's still looking for a Band-Aid, and Luther showing up, out there to check on Nora if she's okay, and yeah, and for some reason, and it just... how they managed to get their picture taken. Someone took a picture of them, and they've made their way to on the front of the paper. Jeez, God. Well, because at a certain point, because everybody's aware now because of them planning to go on a 10-day cruise, leaving on Christmas Eve. Yeah. And other things that happened. Well, because when, say early on the film, Nora was trying to leave the house, and some of the neighbors started to notice that she was leaving the neighborhood, and even, yeah, and again, with the whole thing of, not getting a Frosty out, well, because Vic confronting Nora and just, telling her that, they'll put Frosty out for her, and they just, just wanting to talk and such, and even when she rolls up the window and just, oh God, Vic's fingers getting stuck, oh, that feeling, and just, well, I mean, at least he got his hands out because his gloves are still there. And other moments that happen, and even after the whole tanning thing, well, because two police officers, Officer Salino, I think I'm saying that right, being played by good old Cheech Marin, aka the voice of Bonsai, one of the hyenas from The Lion King, Ramon from Cars, and so many other great films and such that he's done, and Officer Treen, I think, yeah, I'm saying that right, being played by Jake Busey, yeah, I got that right, because they come to their house, and, well, a mentioning of a charity thing, yeah, because that's mentioned in the film a few times about a charity thing and what the Kranks do, but also, the officers giving out to them a calendar, and it's a calendar that they've made specifically, and even seen Officer Treen on the calendar just posing on top of a police car and saying, and Luther telling them that they don't need a calendar and such, and yeah, the officers being aware as well about this. And then, at one point, a little later, freaking Christmas carolers, yeah, that sequence, where the Christmas carolers, they are aware, and they just, constantly start to sing Christmas carols to the poor Kranks. And everybody else in the neighborhood, they start to join in as well. Yeah, and the carolers, yeah, because they're obviously credited, but yeah, but yeah, just overall, because yeah, with the carolers, and then enter the neighbors. They start to sing, Jingle Bells a lot, and also when it comes to Frosty the Snowman and them trying to get to the Kranks on Frosty, and when they're trying to hide from them, and even when they have to move from one place to the next in the house, and when ultimately they have to go down the basement, and Nora points out to Luther that, there's their own Frosty the Snowman figure, and apparently the Frosty the Snowman figure, all of them, they're apparently in some ways alive, and their Frosty the Snowman is giving them this evil look, and just, God, so funny. The poor Kranks, because, what happens to them? And other shenanigans they get themselves into. Well, there is one moment a little earlier where, well, Nora, along with Mary and Candy, they received some horrible news on Bev, the Shields, yeah. Bev, unfortunately, is starting to have cancer once again, and yeah. And a chance that, this might be her last Christmas, and especially with her husband, Walt. And when there was a moment where, yeah, because another confrontation between Walt and and Luther and Walt once again calling Luther an old man, and then Nora coming out and feeling sorry, for what's happening with Walt's wife. Even Luther, I think you can tell that Luther's feeling sorry too. How can you not? How can you not? And more moments with their cat, and just so funny. And oh yes, because can't forget to mention this, at a certain point, the Kranks, most notably Luther, getting back on the carolers, this time because he's basically wetted and, have their driveway be frozen. Like, we see at one point a male guy slipping, and when the carolers show up, they start to slip as well. And Nora realizing what her husband did, and, well, she starts to slip too, and she happens to notice that the Shields cat is frozen too. Because we did see a little earlier that Luther was, like, spraying water from the hose on the cat, just, to get the cat to piss off. But, yeah, because the cat being an aggravation to Luther, and at times when he unintentionally stepped on the cat's tail, so... yeah. And there's a moment with Nora and Luther where, yeah, she can't keep up with this, with what is happening and what the neighbors are doing at times towards them and such. And at one point, because while they're having a conversation and eating, well... Luther, he got a Botox injection and just keeping his face still, and because something with his eyebrows, and he's unable to eat anything, but he has to, like... and even drinking nothing. And they got to do something about this. And just, Nora feeling then that, because maybe the whole thing of the cruise was not a good idea and such. And, well, but, because Luther, he is determined for them to take this cruise in only 24 hours and one day until they are going. And yeah, because they are planning and starting to get ready for tomorrow. However, they at one point receive a phone call. Well, because at first they're receiving constant phone calls, and them chanting "Free Frosty" and so on. That's most notably coming from Vic's son, Spike. Spike Froymayer, yeah, being played by young Eric Sullivan. I think I'm saying the middle name right, possibly. Yeah. Again, you know me sometimes. But yeah, but aside from that, at one point, they receive a phone call from their daughter, Blair. And apparently, out of the blue, Blair is coming home tomorrow for Christmas. She's able to, take a break from being in Peru and to come home for the holidays, surprisingly. However, it's not just her, because she says that, we are coming home and such, and, well, both Nora and Luther, they're on the phone talking with their daughter, just, different phones and such on the line, and Luther asking who's we, and it's Eureka, I think, yeah, I'm pronouncing that right correctly, being played by Renee Lavon, who's, if it's not obvious, Blair's boyfriend, and he asked her to marry him, in which, she's accepted, and so, yeah, they're technically an engaged couple now, and they're just like, what? And Nora actually is the more excited one. Luther, well, him being a dad, it's obvious, the whole daddy's little girl thing. But Nora, she's more than happy about this, and technically, and Blair addresses them that they've known him and they've seen him before a couple of times, yeah. So, yeah, they're coming home, but... what are they going to do? Because they're soon to go on a cruise in 24 hours, leave to go on a cruise. They have no Christmas decorations, no party is happening, and their daughter says, what are they going to do? Well, Nora, basically, Nora and Luther, the situation that they're put in, and little do their daughter know what's actually happening. Well, they have to put out decorations and, prepare a Christmas party right at, like, say, the last minute because, Christmas Eve upon them now and just, duh. So, what happens to each Luther and Nora? Because, well, Luther trying to put up the decorations. Well, first off, trying to get a Christmas tree, but as of now, it's impossible to get a tree, especially when he goes to, meet with Mr. Scanlon, and there's hardly any trees left, except for one that Luther accidentally ran over, and costing $75 to get it, which he does take. But by the time he gets home, the tree it's got nothing. There's no green or anything like that, and Luther just throwing it, and that was a waste. But however, he at one point spots across the street, Wes's house, the Trojans, if I am pronouncing their last name right still. And he goes up and asks Wes if he can temporarily borrow their tree, because they're actually going to be leaving for a while. And Wes, well, he's not so sure, especially how his wife would feel about this. And Luther assuring him that, she doesn't have to know, and it won't be that long, okay? Just for this evening. And, well, Wes, he does oblige, and he gives Luther the keys to do so. And then at one point, well, he sees Spike and the other kids, once again chanting, Free Frosty, and he tries to talk with them, most notably Spike, but they start to flee and think that Luther's going to do something, and, well, especially Spike, is Luther charging at Spike, trying to stop him, and just wanting Spike to help out, with getting the tree out of Wes's house, and, yeah, which he does, and, yeah, but, just not to break anything on the tree, but they pretty much do, ultimately, yeah. And as for Nora, well, because her doing some grocery shopping and for, getting the food and such for their annual Crank Christmas party and such, and one of the biggies that Nora's trying to go for is the hickory honey ham. Yeah. And there's only one left. However, there's another shopper, and I believe, yeah, because... And one of them, some of them, the other cast members that are uncredited, yeah. And it's her. She's not uncredited. She's just credited as Shopper, being played by Dawn Didowick. Yeah, I think I've seen Dawn Didowick before, but yeah. So it's a competition and race between each of them going after that last piece of hickory ham and such. But ultimately, yeah, she gets it, the shopper. And there's at one point where Nora spots another piece of ham, and offers some cash and such to the guy who's going to get it, which he's credited as husband, and the husband being played by Andy Daly. I know Andy Daly. I remember him best for being, say, the mayor jerk, in the live-action Yogi Bear. And hey, because he and Dan Aykroyd, they were in this movie years before they would be in the live-action Yogi Bear film, because we all know, of course, that Dan Aykroyd, he was the voice of Yogi Bear, and say what you will, I mean, and especially aside from Justin Timberlake doing a spot-on impression and voice performance of Boo Boo Bear, I thought Dan Aykroyd did pretty good as Yogi. I think so. Why else would they have chosen him to voice Yogi? I think he did pretty good. The best he could. Doing Yogi is how Dawes Butler did the voice performance of Yogi. So, yeah. Anyways, so Nora just desperately wanting to buy the ham from the husband character, and the fact that right next to her, the husband's wife and child are there right behind her. Just, God. And to name some of the other characters, well, because some of the grocery shoppers, like Regina Day Allen Blankney, if I'm saying that right, and, the wife, that was Rose, Cole Sanity, if I'm even saying that right, and there was a co-worker played by Mark Corey, caroler, one of the carolers, two of them, being Gary J. Clayton and Laura Hall, and there's Amanda Formayer, the wife of Vic, and the mother of Spike. That was Dave Hulisey, if I'm saying that right. Yeah, and there was also TSA Security, Mitch Calamane, Shopper, Marisa Collier, and Christmas Shopper, Cameron Lee, Waitress, Sarah Lowell, and Girl Who Screams at Stepped-on Cat. That was June Renee Santiono, you know me sometimes. Lauren Mary Wilson, who plays a girl, one of those girls who witnessed Luther accidentally stepping on the cat, the cat's tail. Yes, but ultimately, yeah, Nora, she actually did manage to get the last piece of ham, but at one point she slipped and yeah, it was getting away from her and, well, ultimately, and when it was out on the street, on the road, a truck passes by and pretty much destroys the ham and yeah. And it doesn't go too well for Nora, the groceries and food that she gets for the planned party. And when trying to invite some of them over, and well, because, you know, at first, like, they don't, like, Luther especially doesn't feel that they should, you know, invite the neighbors, but there really is no other choice. And yeah, because Luther and Spike, because with them trying to get the tree out, well, they are spied on by some of the neighbors, but also, yeah, ultimately when the police are informed by this, and they, well, yeah, because they happen to be there, and they confront Luther about this, and Luther pointing out that it's not just him, it's Spike that were rolling the tree out. And the officers think that Spike is an imaginary friend or something, but, well, are they not, aren't they aware and know of Vic, and they would at least know his son? Yeah. So, Luther was almost about to go to jail. However, nice on Spike's part, because he actually helps Luther out of this situation and telling the officers that Luther is telling the truth, and, well, because, Luther was given a key by Wes. So yeah, now the officers know, and, you know, scram Luther, as they say. So everything's good, and nice on Spike's part for helping out. So eventually and ultimately, yeah, because they get the tree in, and Nora, you know, the first time seeing the tree in there and the certain decorations that are on the tree, well, gonna have to go with it. You know, either take it or leave it, as Luther says. And Nora, once again, has to leave home and once again go for more foods and such. And, well, at one point, while she's still doing some grocery shopping and such, she runs into this guy named Marty, which just so happens, Marty being played by Austin Pendleton, yeah. You know, Umbrella Santa. Now, I didn't realize at first, I didn't even know that was Austin playing the Umbrella Santa until the very end of the movie, and until we get there. Marty and Nora, they start to interact with one another. Like, she has no idea who he is, but out of nowhere, you know, she's made a friend with this guy, and inviting him, like one of the first people to invite over at their house for their annual Christmas party, and the mentioning of Blair coming home and with her boyfriend and such, yeah. So yeah, now, this totally stranger, Marty, but little do they know, especially Luther, who it actually is, but yeah, he comes to the party, yeah, being one of the first people to be invited. And coming back to Luther, because, well, you know, putting up some more decorations, and this time, putting up a Frosty the Snowman. Also, not to mention that a couple of phone calls they're receiving from their daughter that when exactly she's going to be arriving, and even say, like, she landed in Atlanta, and she's getting very close to coming home and such, along with Enrica, yeah. So, again, Luther setting up the Christmas decorations, this time with Frosty, because got a rope around Frosty's neck and such. Well, that's one way to pull it up and such. And, well, Vic and the other neighbors, they happen to notice that Luther is putting up a Frosty, but they are a bit concerned and, you know, telling Luther to be careful and not to fall from the roof, but which ultimately he does. Even when, say, the Frosty figure was kind of staring at Luther. Again, technically, the Frosties in Christmas with the Kranks are in some ways alive. Yeah. So give the Frosty figure that the Kranks have, giving Luther the stare. The eyes are starting to burn or something. And yeah, ultimately Luther does fall. However, he survives, except for the Frosty the Snowman figure. It basically breaks into pieces on the floor. And for Luther, well, he hangs by one of his legs, you know, on the rope. and the neighbors, along with Vic, trying to help Luther get down. 911 was already called, and yeah, an ambulance, a fire truck, even the two officers arrived to help out, get Luther down from the roof and on the rope he's attached to, and Nora showing up as well. Yeah. And ultimately, well, because especially Vic, seeing that they're starting to put up Christmas decorations, and the Kranks inform Vic, and as well as the neighbors, well, Vic passing along the news to everybody that, well, Blair is coming home for Christmas. And at that point, Vic, along with the neighbors, they start to help out the Kranks. Despite the fact that they've been kind of jerks to them, still, they will do it for their daughter, because we learned that Blair has been a really nice and sweet gal in the neighborhood. Man, she's a trooper doing this, because she's basically babysitted a lot of the kids in the neighborhood and such, and has always been there for the neighbors, and that's nice to see. So they will do it specifically and especially for Blair. And also them being aware that Blair is coming home with a boyfriend, now fiance, soon to be married, So yeah, from Vic and all the neighbors, starting to help out the Kranks, get everything set up and ready, putting up decorations on their house, the light bulbs, and a new Frosty the Snowman being put up on top of the roof, and and getting everything set up and such inside of the house. And even say the two officers, they're put to the task to go and pick up Blair and Enrica, and they're not sure about it, but then Vic giving them this stare and telling them, "You want me to tell the chief of police on you?" just such, and well, they do it. So yeah, that's what happens. So nice to see that they will do this, and yeah, because all for Blair. Okay, so all that happens, them preparing everything in the Kranks house, the decorations and the food and such. And at one point, because, those that show up to the Kranks house, everybody, even like, say, the father and Marty shows up, and guess what? He got a piece of the ham, the hickory honey ham. Nice on him. And, Marty greeting everybody and such, but they have no idea who he is. Even, the father and Luther, they were just mouthing each other like, I don't know who he is, and just so on. And then, because at one point, putting up the lights, decorating the house and with the lights and such. But even when, they find out, and especially, because when Blair once again calls them that they're going to be running a bit late or something, or they will be there shortly, but, basically because they don't have everything ready and they got to do something. And even when the two officers, they show up and, because, at airports, like, people would be holding, like, some signs and whom they're supposed to pick up. Yeah, because when Blair and Eureka, like, spot the two officers, and they're holding a sign with their names, because they are to pick them up. And even Spike, because he's radioing the officers that, they need to stall time. Not everything is ready, and just, And, Officer Celino, on taking the wheel, basically we see them just driving slow. And why didn't he tell the other officer, Officer Treen, why didn't he tell him in the first place? Because he doesn't end up telling him a little later on, and when they have to stall for more time and pretend that they have to investigate a crime or something, that's when he tells Officer Treen. Again, why didn't he tell him at the start? I don't know. It's just, it's just one of those things, But anyways, even like, say, at one point, when Randy, one of the Becker kids, Randy being the oldest, being the one to plug in the cord, but which end? And, going for the wrong one, and there's a blackout that happens in the neighborhood, and Luther and Vic investigating this, and Vic happens to know someone and to fix this. So there's another situation / problem that has to be dealt with. And again, while the two officers, they have to still stall for some time before they get there, and again, pretending that they're investigating a crime. And it just so happens, coincidentally, they're actually someone that is present and is actually stealing something. And yeah, and he is credited as a burglar. The burglar being played by Joe Guzaldo. I think, yeah, I'm saying that right. I am familiar with Joe Guzaldo. I'm pretty sure, yeah, I've seen him before in a couple of other films. But yeah, he's the burglar, and yeah, because they really have a crime scene to deal with. And poor Officer Officer Treen, I have to keep scrolling such. Officer Treen is put to the task to chase after him, but getting bonked and hit, and even the burglar just, falling and such. And ultimately, yeah, because they do catch him, and while poor Blair and Eureka, because they're watching this, and even when the burglar's face is put onto the window, and they're Blair and Eureka, because they're both screaming. But they got him, so why are they scared and such? Even in Eureka being the scaredest, but both of them are. And also, Nora at one point is helping her husband, Luther, to dress up properly, and it has to do something with his tanning, and wearing like, something black and such, to hide the tan and such, that whole thing. And Luther's comments on how he looks, just, yeah, it's funny. But that's what he has to go for. But it looks pretty good on him, just, yeah. And yeah, ultimately, the whole, power outage, the blackout, it is fixed, and all the Christmas lights are on, and even when snow started to hit. Perfect timing on Christmas Eve, yeah. And that's one of those things. It's always amazing and always Christmassy, just like when you would have beautiful snow emerging, if it's say, Christmas Eve. I mean, I've experienced this, and I'm sure some of you have too, yeah. So yeah, everything is now just about ready, and perfect timing because, well, by that point, because the two officers, they actually, this for real, caught a burglar, and now they can make their way back to the Kranks house, and everybody being there to welcome and greet Blair back home, and yeah. And Nora and Luther reuniting with their daughter and meeting their now fiancé, technically for the first time. But again, Blair basically told them that they've seen him and slash met him before, so yeah. And the burglar is being left out in the car with the window down a little, and at one point Spike actually goes up to the burglar, and the burglar, if it's obvious, immediately, because manipulating Spike and telling Spike that he's got kids of his own and doing it for them. And Spike, well, how is he supposed to know? And he's just a kid, Spike does uncuff him and tells him that he can be in there for 20 minutes and get some food, and that's it, and he's going to go back to the police car. Well, at least, yeah, Spike was technically doing the right thing on giving the burglar some strict rules on what he is going to do and when getting back in the back of the police car. Yeah. So yeah, the burglar being in there and getting a plate of food, but obviously he was going to do something as a burglar. And Luther did at one point notice him, and even the burglar interacted with one of the carolers and gave her the tray of slash plate of food that he had, and making his way upstairs. Yeah. And, and Eureka, interacting with everybody else, even when he starts to interact with Marty. And Marty, he lived in Peru for 5 years and knows a lot about Peru and speaking the language. And they hit it off and, yeah, getting to know each other because of Peru and such. And even, at one point, when it comes to singing some Christmas carols, Marty and Eureka, they start to sing something in the language in Peru, and some of the neighbors having instruments, most notably, Vic, he has an accordion, and when he sings a little later on, and when it comes to the toast and, Luther, well, he doesn't really say that much, and he's still bummed out that they might miss the cruise. And, well, Nora confronting Luther about this, and Luther saying that he's not much of a good, toaster, giving a toast and such, and she can tell that, yeah, because he's still upset and pounding about that they might miss the cruise, and the fact that, well, their daughter just came back. It was a miracle for her to come back, and meeting whom she's going to marry, and how everything's going so great with the neighbors and stuff like that. He's still going on about the cruise. But then at one point, Luther, he at one point walks outside, and he notices that Walter and Bev, they actually didn't attend, and they were going to, but they just never got around to it, attending to the Kranks' annual Christmas party. So him going up to their house, but then at one point, he hears a voice calling out to him, and thinking that it's Frosty, like he thinks that he might have had too much to drink. So yeah, and, well, when he goes over to their house, well, because Bev is doing okay still, and, the conversations that they have with one another just, yeah, and, a very sad moment and very serious, yeah, especially for Walter and Bev, and if she is going to survive once again, and if she will live, some more, and to have more Christmases and such, and if this is not her last, and then at one point, well, because, he has a moment to himself, standing right out on the road, and, some nice music that plays, and with the snow coming down, and he realizes that, you know what, he's got to do the right thing. What does he do? He goes back to their house, and he gives them the, tickets and such to go on the cruise that was originally for him and Nora. Now, he's passing it to Walt and, Beth. Because, you know what? They deserve to go on a cruise, and they can't accept it, but Luther insists, and Bev is not sure what her doctor would say about this, if her doctor would approve, but, it's a cruise, and just, yeah. So, eventually, they do accept, and even one last moment with Walt and Luther, because with this, well, it doesn't make them friends, because they don't have to be friends, and you know what, just because, they don't have to be friends doesn't mean, because, they don't need to keep, bashing on one another and such, that's not necessary. But yeah, it does end pretty well for each of them, and well, yep, Walt and Bev, they, start to, soon but surely start to get ready and be packed for tomorrow. And then, well, after that, because, well, even Nora, because she, was happy by this with, with what Luther did. But actually, yeah, before that, because, well, Luther happened to notice that whom was calling out for his name, well, and because he heard it coming from the rooftop and where Frosty was. It's Ned. Poor Ned. He had been there the whole time, even when Blair and her now fiancé had arrived, and frozen and attached to the Frosty figure, even an icicle from his nose, and oh man, you know how that would feel. And yeah, Luther was, going to help get Ned down. And by the way, because Ned was one of the first neighbors to spy and notice Luther, along with Spike, taking the Christmas tree out of Wes's house, yeah. So when he was about to help get Ned off the roof, which he did, yeah, then he happened to notice the burglar, because the stuff that the burglar was stealing, even when Spike came into the same room where the burglar was, and yeah, Spike being tricked by him, and, help, police and such, and, well, yeah, the burglar attempting to escape, he's on top of the roof, on one of the roofs of the Kranks house, and stepping on the light bulbs, and Luther just wondering what he's doing, and, what's in that bag, and, well, sure enough, the burglar is stopped by the Umbrella Santa. Yeah, the Umbrella Santa, which turns out to be Marty. Luther realizes that the Umbrella Santa is Marty, the complete total stranger that showed up to their Christmas party. Yeah. nice on Marty's part, yeah. And even Marty telling him that he really should have needed an umbrella. So, yeah, next time, yeah, definitely needing an umbrella. And, well, Marty, he best get going, because, him being busy on Christmas Eve, well, because Santa is busy on Christmas Eve, yeah. Go figure. And, yeah, that's when Nora, she comes out and is very happy with what Luther did, because she received a phone call from Bev about Luther giving her and her husband, tickets and such to go on a cruise, and, yeah, and how happy they are for their daughter and such, and how, in the end, it all turned out great. And, maybe the whole thing of them going on a cruise wasn't really a great idea, stupid idea, and, there's always next year, because when Nora said that, and because Luther, likes that idea, and, yeah, they can do it next year, so, yeah. And also because, not to mention, as I recall, Blair was, returning home for 10 days, yeah, and then it's her and Eureka going back to Peru for the rest of the year until they would return for next Christmas, yeah. But, yeah, in the end, all ends well, and as the camera pans up and we see one of the Frosty the Snowman figures, waving at us, and then, because when we saw Marty, aka the Umbrella Santa, leaving, he was in a classic love bug, and we happened to see reindeer starting to fly with the love bug that Marty was riding in, driving and such. And is it possible that Marty is actually Santa Claus? Well, yeah, obviously the movie doesn't establish that, but maybe more than likely, yeah. And little did everybody know, who Marty actually was, and, being the Santa handing out umbrellas, yeah. So maybe he is Santa, because, yeah, the reindeer attached to the love bug, and, well, Marty getting the last line of the film, wishing us a Merry Christmas, and, yeah, the movie ends right there. It's an okay ending, but it was very nice and a great way to end it off, because, yeah, everything ending off on a happy note, especially for Luther and Nora Krank, without a doubt. Also, because some of the other people that attended to the party, I did notice that, yeah, the girl at the front desk, the tanning place, she showed up, and everybody else that I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure, maybe Mr. Scanlon was there, I'll have to go back and look, but yeah. But again, a nice and good way to end off Christmas with the Kranks right there. Like I said, a happy note, and because it is Christmas, yeah, can't argue with that, yeah. Christmas with the Kranks, yeah. Again, I didn't think it was that bad. In my opinion, I don't think it's really the worst and god-awful comedy Christmassy film of all time. You know what I mean? Just, yeah, I don't think so. Come on. Again, is it really that bad? And despite the score on Rotten Tomatoes, come on, again, I'm not the only one, and I'm sure some of you, and to anybody else that actually like Christmas with the Kranks and, in a way, enjoy it, yeah. The story in Christmas with the Kranks, not bad. The cast of characters, the funny moments here and there, and the clumsy, situations that the Kranks get themselves into. And when it seems like things start to go downhill and not going great, but in the end, it all turned out great, and what a Christmas miracle it was. And, with their daughter being there, with her now fiance, and all of the neighbors happy and such, and, they ended up celebrating Christmas, Luther and Nora, and with their annual Christmas party at their house, and with Marty, aka the Umbrella Santa, being there, some great moments that happened, and some emotional moments, yeah, and especially when things turn out fine with Walt and Bev, and when they get to go on a cruise, yeah. The music and score, pretty good too. And, yeah, just what more do I have to say? Christmas with the Kranks is an okay Christmassy film. Not the best, and it may not be the funniest Christmassy film, but, again, is it really that god-awful? Seriously, I'm just saying, yeah. And if you guys would feel the same way too. And I'm giving Christmas with the Kranks, yeah, again, because I can't say it's really the best and such, so I'm giving it 5 out of 10 stars, yeah. 5 out of 10 stars for Christmas with the Cranks. That should be fine, right? And, well, you know, I'm rating Christmas with the Cranks and how I rate it. So 5 out of 10 stars. Yeah, that's not too bad. And like I said, because I didn't think it was that bad, and I quite enjoyed it, but yeah, 5 out of 10 stars is good enough. Yeah. So, what about you guys? What did you think of Christmas with the Cranks itself? Any of you that got to see this when it came out in theaters, or when it came out on DVD, or watching it on digital streaming? Do you think it's not that bad? Do any of you quite like Christmas with the Cranks? You know, do you find the humor in Christmas with the Cranks pretty good? You know, did you get some good laughs and such? And what goes on in Christmas with the Cranks and with the cast of characters? And, you know, the film's direction and such? Yeah, just overall, what do you think of Christmas with the Cranks itself, and with what I've had to say, my review, and yeah, what did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. And so, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Christmas with the Cranks. More review videos are coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I'll see you guys in the next video / review. And of course, continuing on, reviewing more Christmassy films on the weekdays. Stay tuned, because the next Christmassy film that I'll be reviewing, well, coming straight from Disney, and let's just say, it stars, good old Jim Carrey. Humbug. I think you know exactly what it is. Again, stay tuned for that. Take care, happy anniversary to Christmas with the Cranks, and peace out.